We've talked about water and the fuel, and I finally figured out how it got in there. I'm the reason the water, the fuel's in there, but it was also a poor design on the manufacturer's part too. When I got this boat, I pressure washed it like 4 or 5 times. Every time I took it out, I pressure washed it because it's salt water, which is something I do. When I come back, I always pressure wash my stuff to clean it. And so by doing that, I was putting water in the fuel, and I'll show you how that happened. Right here. It's a vent for the fuel tank. So when I come along here spraying, pressure washing the boat down, pressure washing the trailer down, water was going in these little holes straight down in the tank. Now when it rains, the guy I bought the boat from kept this under a shed. And like I said, I think he put 50 hours on it total all summer, and he's had it a couple of years. So this spent most of its life under a shed. So when it rains, water just runs down the side of the boat and right down into these holes and into the tank. And if you were to take a nice wave over the side, bloop, it goes underwater. And then in here, you can see that hose right there. It should have a U shape or a 90 degree in it in an upward fashion to keep the water from going into the tank. Now I've angled it up slightly, but not much, about as much as I could get out of it. I'm going to try to get a hose with a U shape in it to fit that. I've already been in talks with the guy at the parts store, and we got a couple of ideas. But when I got it, it didn't even have that upward angle. It just went straight into the tank. So that's how the water got in the tank. Since I've done that, since I've angled it up in the rainstorms we've had, so far there's no water in the tank. So that's how we're going to fix that problem. Now, let's say this boat is an 03. It's either, yeah, I know the motor is an 03. I think the boat may be an 01. I've talked about somebody else I know that had a boat, the same manufacturer boat. Why I wanted this boat is because the other one I had, it was a nice boat. It just had a little bitty problems, and one of the problems they had with that boat, which I talked about in the other video, was water and the fuel. And they kept their boat out on a floating dock when they drive up boat ramps. Then stayed out there for about 2 years, 2-3 years before they sold it. And it had a different venting system than this one, and it was really, really not thought out very well. And every time it would rain on that boat, the gas cap had a vented gas cap, and it had a plastic spill guard around it. And it would rain, the spill guard would fill up with water and just run right down into the tank. There was no U-shape or anything to keep the water from getting into the tank. And that's how they ended up with so much water in the fuel tank. But this is an earlier design, and their fix, when they took that boat back to the factory, or the manufacturer, and they went in, the gas tank's under the floor, they went in, they vacuumed all that out. I think they pulled 6 or 7 gallons of water out of it. And they said the reason why was because of that spill guard at the water. So how their fix and upgrade was to drill a hole in the splash guard to let the water run out, instead of fixing it right. That's what the manufacturer's solution was. Don't know, I hadn't really kept up with this manufacturer since then, but this is an older boat than that one. I think that was a 2006 model. But yeah, we're going to put a U-shape in that, or horseshoe shape, and that's going to fix that problem. I'm going to put some LED lights on the T-top, because I'm going to try to go do some nighttime fishing with this. We're going to put some lights, probably going to put some lights under the cap rail. I just got to figure out how to install them without drilling holes. I don't want to drill holes for the wiring. I really don't want to drill holes any more than I have to, because that's a place for rotting problems down the line. But I thought about underwater lights. It ain't happening. But yeah, we're definitely getting lights on the T-top, cap rail, getting ready for spring. Well, can't wait till spring gets here. We're going to go try to catch some good fish. Actually never owned a boat like this big before that I could go out and fish the way I want to fish. I've always had small boats to kind of stay inshore. Although I did take my Sea Ark 2 miles offshore in the Gulf, which I will never, ever do again. But I've sold the Sea Ark to help pay for this one. So this spring, I'm hoping to get out and go trolling for kings and Spanish mackerel. And there's a couple of reefs that are offshore I hope we can get to. So hopefully fuel prices ain't higher. Well, hopefully fuel prices ain't much higher than they are now, which we'll see. They've already jumped up almost 50 cents just in the last 2 or 3 days. But we're not going to get into that. That's not what this channel's about. So anyway, there's my boat. And the motor is fixed.